Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my bedroom in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm continuing my video series of the 1930s. I'm talking about the movies of each year, and then talking about my favorite movie that came out each year. I did a video covering 1930, 1934, so I'll do the second part covering 1935 to 1939. Anyway, so I already kind of did an intro to this video on my last video, so we'll just get right to 1935. Like I said, from 1935 to 39, really great movies coming out during this time period, I feel like. And so 1935, the Best Picture winner is Mutiny on the Bounty. This is, a very popular book that's been covered, I think, a couple different times. It get covered again in the 60s with Marlon Brando playing the main character. This one, we got really good cast overall, with Clark Gable playing the main character, Christian. And we have Charles Laughton playing the villainous Captain Bligh. Great role for him. He's very good at playing kind of villainous characters, I feel like. And I'm a big fan of both actors during this time period. I think are really good, putting out some good stuff. And I know there's another actor, I think maybe Leslie Howard or something like that. I know there's another actor that was pretty popular at this time period as well. Overall, I think it's actually a pretty good movie, pretty good Best Picture winner. Story I think works really well about the mutiny against the evil captain. It's got an overall good storyline there. The biggest box office movie of the year is Mutiny on the Bounty as well. So not only Best Picture, but also was a big movie. And this was, like I said, Clark Gable just was in It Happened One Night the year before, which was also a big Oscar winner, including winning Best Actor for himself. And he follows it up with Mutiny on the Bounty. So, I mean, pretty good follow-up to already one of his biggest movies that he's ever done. I mean, I feel like every movie he does at this point is like either a Best Picture nominee or he gets a nomination. It's like he's just the top actor at the time period anyways. And he does a good job in this movie as well. I like him quite a bit anyways. So for honorable mentions, I'm going to say Mutiny on the Bounty is an honorable mention. I actually quite enjoyed that movie. I thought it was a good interpretation of the source material. And yeah, I thought it was very good story overall. I like the whole, I didn't like Captain Bligh. I kind of was with the mutineers. And then once they mutiny, then what do they do now? They're kind of now stuck on an island with no longer employed. But they have beautiful women on the island, so it's a win-win, I guess, for them, for the most part, anyways. But another honorable mention is Captain Blood. This is Errol Flynn, kind of the usual kind of swashbuckling role that he would do at this time period. This is pre-Adventures of Robin Hood, which will come out, I think, a couple years later. And he did a lot of these movies like this. He was very good at these type of roles. He's, again, sword fighting, pirate style movies. I want to say he might have even done Sinbad maybe at some point. I can't remember, but I do like him in this kind of role here. And I think Basil Rathbone or whatever, I think also plays a villain here, and he plays a villain in Robin Hood as well. So those two are very good together as hero and villain anyway. So yeah, solid movie there. And Les Miserables is another movie I'm recommending from this year. Again, Charles Laughton playing Javert, kind of the villain character. Again, good job here for Charles Laughton, and a very good year for Charles Laughton. He was in some good movies coming out this year. I think gave some really good performances. And as you saw a couple years before, in 33 he had my favorite movie that year, Private Life of Henry VIII, which he starred and won the Oscar for. And so yeah, I'm really liking Charles Laughton during this decade. Anyways, and this is another, and I love Les Miserables. It's such a great story. Obviously, this is a non-musical one of the story, but overall, I really love the overall story of it and the characters and everything. So most any time, and there's been like 4 or 5 different Les Miserables over the years, and this is the earliest one, and they're all pretty good. Because I enjoy the story overall. But anyways, but my favorite movie of the year actually does star Charles Laughton, and it is called Ruggles of Red Gap. Is my favorite movie of 1935. Yeah, Charles Laughton. Like I said, I had him in my two movies in my honorable mentions, and then my favorite movie. So 3 movies he did this year, all I thought were pretty good. He gave good performances in all 3. This one, I don't know. I just thought this was a really fun movie. It was nominated for Best Picture this year. That's how I kind of found out about it, and I gave it a look on like TCM or something like that. And I found myself really charmed by the movie, I guess you can say. And there's Charles Laughton. He plays a butler named Ruggles, and he's a British butler who the master of the house that he lives at loses a poker game to an American, and part of the winnings is he won the butler in the poker game. I believe it's a poker game, and so he has to move to America because he got lost in a poker game, and so he moves to America to work as a butler at this American mansion called Red Gap. Anyways, and there, of course, he's a charming British man who charms everybody in town, and his foreign ways are kind of, fish out of water, interesting, kind of character, and just a really likable character. I just really enjoyed the character, kind of the comedy, I guess, overall. Yeah, the movie you probably never heard of. You're not gonna hear a lot about this, so this is a kind of really good hidden gem recommendation for me. Ruggles the Red Gap. Really enjoyed it. All right, 1936. For Best Picture, we have The Great Ziegfeld. This is a big, musical kind of big show kind of movie because Ziegfeld, it's based off of course, put on Ziegfeld Follies, and it was a big show that had a lot of big stars in it, and they did singing and comedy and different, kind of like a variety show, kind of thing, and extremely popular, I guess, before this time period. But there are people in this movie that actually did work for Ziegfeld, like Fanny Brice, they make a movie about called Funny Girl back later in '69 with Barbra Streisand. Anyways, and she's actually in the movie playing her character, which was kind of cool. We also get a cool comedy moment with Ray Bolger, who plays the Scarecrow in Wizard of Oz, also shows up and does like a comedy bit, which is cool. So there's a lot of that stuff, and I think that's why I won Best Picture, probably because Ziegfeld's a very popular character, I guess, and played by William Powell, I should say, and I really like William Powell. He's another favorite actor of mine during this time period. In a lot of really good movies. In fact, I'm going to talk about him in 2 other movies that came out this year. He's another one that came out like 3 movies, all very good, and he, I said. Yeah, I guess when I talk about those, I'll talk more about. He did get an Oscar nomination for another role, I believe, and not this one, even though this was the Big Picture one. But also, Myrna Loy shows up here. They make a lot of movies together, and I'll talk about 2 other movies they made together this year. Again, they made like 3 movies together, and all really good stuff. And their banter together is always really good. There's an interesting performance by Louise Rainier, who won the Oscar for Best Actress for this performance. And it's notable because she's not a big-named actress. She didn't make a lot of movies at all. But she won the Oscar this year, and she'd actually, spoiler alert, win the Oscar the next year as well. For what's it called, The Great Earth, I think, or something like that. She won back-to-back Oscars for Best Actress. The first one to do it. The first one to win 2 Oscars. And then she kind of disappeared from Hollywood. She kind of stopped making movies after a while. She was more of a theater actor that kind of got into movies, but didn't really like being in movies that much, I don't think. And she's got 2 Oscars under her name. And again, probably the most underrated actress of our time because no one ever heard of this actress. And she died not too long ago, and she lived, I think, to 100 years old or something like that. So she lived quite a long time, actually. Anyway, it's just an interesting story off of there. Also, Frank Morgan's in here, who's also in Wizard of Oz. Reginald Owen is in here, who was the original Scrooge. Anyway, so yeah, some good actors and actresses here. I'm not a huge fan of the movie. I think it's a little too long. It's too much about the performances and not about the story. And even William Powell, playing Ziegfeld, is sometimes, again, he like cheats on his first wife, I think, with Myrna Loy, who he marries, second wife that he marries, and so he's not the most likable character either. I don't know, and I don't know much about Ziegfeld, of course. That's way before my time. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of it, even though I do like William Powell in the role. The biggest box office movie is also Mutiny on the Bounty. So again, second year in a row, we have a movie that won Best Picture and was the box office winner. Something we never get today. The box office winner never wins Best Picture now at times. Usually the winner of Best Picture is a movie that doesn't make hardly any money. But at this point, I guess it was when the Academy and the audience kind of agreed with what was the best movie. So some honorable mentions this year. Like I said, a lot of William Powell and Myrna Loy coming out this year, including After the Thin Man. As I talked about, The Thin Man, I think came out, I don't know if that was last year or the year before. It must have been the year before. I recommended The Thin Man in 34, and he was even nominated for Best Actor for that role, even though it was really just a comedy role. So this is the sequel to it, and I actually like this actually more than the first one. I think this one is funnier. I think I do love the beginning part where the murder happens, actually, is William Powell visiting his wife's family, who's very rich. And it's very funny because they look down on him because he doesn't come from a rich family. And so there's a lot of comedy there. And you also get a young Jimmy Stewart here, one of the first movies I've ever seen Jimmy Stewart in. So it's great seeing him in this movie as well. Yeah, I think the movie works overall. The murder mystery part works well as well. So I would say you check this one out. Even if you haven't checked the first one out, check this one out. I think it's actually even better. Another really good movie, very hidden gem recommendation, and a movie that comes very close to being my favorite movie, is a movie called Libeled Lady. Libeled Lady, also nominated for Best Picture this year, and stars William Powell and Myrna Loy. Again, they are so good together. They have such great chemistry. And also you have Spencer Tracy in here as well, and Jean Harlow. Like great casting overall. And it's another kind of romantic comedy, I guess you can say, of this period. And William Powell is so good in this lead. He plays like a journalist who is trying to get, a story off of this divorce or something that's happening. And so he kind of pretends to be somebody so he can get close to the family. And a lot of comedy moments there. There's a fishing scene I think was really good in this movie. But overall, yeah, really enjoyed. Great actors, and it's another really solid romantic comedy from this time period. The other movie I'm gonna give a recommendation to is Modern Times, which is another Charlie Chaplin film. City Lights was my favorite in 1931. I think I like this even better than City Lights, to be honest. I think some of the visual gags are really funny. Him working in the factory and getting caught in the gears is such a funny visual gag. A lot of stuff he does there is really great. And it's all about, working and the troubles of, working hard in the factory kind of thing. Another very good visually gagged silent movie for Charlie Chaplin, one of his big classics as well. But my favorite movie is going to go to Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Another Frank Capra film. As you'll see, I'm a big Frank Capra fan, like a lot of his movies during this time period. Yeah, very good romantic comedy. One of my favorites during this time period. You got Gary Cooper and Jean Arthur are so good together here. And you probably have heard of Mr. Deeds, maybe, which was a remake with Adam Sandler in it, which I like that movie as well. But I even like this even better, as it's not quite as immature in the silliness. But I just love the whole story of this guy, Longfellow Deeds, inherits, like his uncle or something like that dies, and he's the next of kin. So he inherits this very wealthy, business and mansion. And so he goes to live in this mansion that he's left and to run the business. And everybody thinks he's just this, small town idiot. And he, but he's very likable. He's, has a lot of integrity. He's honorable and all this stuff. And I really like how he changes everything. And it's another one where, I say another one, but we'll see in a couple of years, Jean Arthur comes back for another movie similar. Jean Arthur, is kind of out to get him, but then she falls in love with him because of his small town charm, I guess you can say. And I don't know, I just love the fact that he doesn't really care about the money. And it's like, they're like, you just, you got $1 million. And he's just like, why would anybody want $1 million? I just love that scene because it's like, we'd all would jump to the chance of having $1 million. But Longfellow Deeds was like, it's like, that's too much money. Who would need that much money? you know, I just makes you love the character. You're like, oh man, he just doesn't care about, wealth and, and material goods. He's just a good guy in total. And I love the love story. It's a good love story between those two. And there's a nice like court scene at the end. I think that's done very well. So yeah, love Frank Capra's story. A lot of his stories here in the 30s, and that's one of my favorite. All right, so that covers 1936. Let's get to 1937. 1937, Best Picture is The Life of Emile Zola. Kind of weird title, because you're like, Emile Zola, who's Emile Zola? It's a true story, it's a biography, a biopic of a writer, a novel writer named Emile Zola, who I never heard of either, played by Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney, another really good actor from this time period that you might never heard of. He's in The Good Earth that came out this year as well, like I said, with Louise Rayner, who won the Oscar for Best Actress. He actually won an Oscar the year before, in 36 for now I'm forgetting the name of the movie, the story of Louis Pasteur. He plays another real life character, Louis Pasteur, and it's actually a decent movie too, and he gives a good performance there and wins the Oscar the year before. So he's an Oscar winning actor at this point and one of the big actors of the time period. He was in Scarface, and I Was on a Chain Gang or something like that. It was another movie he made anyway. So he's a very big actor at this point, and I think he gives a really great performance here. I actually really like this movie. Emile Zola, he wrote these novels about like poor people, and he got notoriety as an author. And then there's this whole second half of the movie where he actually kind of defends somebody who's wrongfully accused in the army of doing something he didn't do. And so he steps up and kind of becomes a lawyer. He's not a lawyer, but he defends him as a lawyer, and it's happened in real life in a trial. I love a good trial scene. If you'll see anything from me on my movie taste, I love a good trial movie with a good trial scene, courtroom drama or whatever. And I think the courtroom scenes are really good in this movie. I think he gets some good speeches, and again, great performance by Paul Mooney anyways. So it's one of those hidden gems I recommend to anybody, even though you might be bored with it. I think it's a good movie. The big box office movie is a movie called Saratoga. I'm not real familiar with Saratoga. I had to look it up to see what it was. Looks like more like maybe a romantic comedy. It has Clark Gable, Jean Harlow, Lionel Barrymore, Frank Morgan, Walter Pidgeon, Hattie McDowell, just to name a couple pretty big named actors and actresses, and some Oscar winners there as well. And so, yeah, it's another movie I need to check out because I'm not familiar with it, unfortunately, because I don't watch a lot of movies from this time period compared to other decades. But yeah, I'm always up for a good Clark Gable movie. Anyway, so that was the big box office movie. For honorable mentions, again, I already said to talk about The Life of Emile Zola. I have to highly recommend. It came very close, actually, to being my favorite movie of the year. I really had to think about it. It was between this and the movie that I gave. But yeah, really good movie, very underrated movie. It won Best Picture, but it's underrated because no one really talks about it now. And I only have I guess I only have another recommendation. I only had 2 recommendations from this year. And my second recommendation is going to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I mean, it feels like you have to recommend this. I mean, the pop culture, influence is huge on this movie, as it's the first full-length feature animation movie, of course, first movie from Walt Disney Company, and it's a classic. I mean, I love the dwarves. I think it's a little slow at times, but the dwarves are great, and when the dwarves are on screen, like, that's the best part of the movie, and it's charming. I don't know, it's a classic story. I mean, come on. So you definitely have to watch that movie if you haven't, just for them film importance, that it really influenced everything afterwards, animation-wise. But my favorite movie of this year is going to go to a movie called Captain's Courageous. Yeah, really great movie. This has Spencer Tracy in it. He plays not even really main character. Main character is really Fred Bartholomew, but he's kind of a rich kid, spoiled brat who falls off like his parents' like yacht or something, and he gets saved or kind of rescued by Spencer Tracy's character, who's a Puerto Rican fisherman. As you can believe, Spencer Tracy is a Puerto Rican. It's a little strange, but yeah. So he gets taken onto this fishing boat which has a whole big fishing crew. Actually, it's a big fishing boat, and Lionel Barrymore is actually like the captain of the boat, I think. And yeah, another great Lionel Barrymore performance here. Spencer Tracy, though, great performance by him. He won the Oscar for Best Actor, first of 2 Oscars. He's going to win back to back during this time period. Spencer Tracy, great actor, another fantastic actor during the 30s and 40s period. A lot of movies I really love from Spencer Tracy, but this is one you probably never heard of. It's a really good hidden gem movie. I love just that he kind of takes in this kid who's a spoiled brat, and he's on this, very hardened, fisherman boat, blue collar workers, that work very, very hard, to catch fish for this, whatever, for this, whoever owns the boat. And he kind of gets taught life lessons through this, and how to be a real man, how to work hard, which he doesn't like at first, but he kind of realizes, and he looks up to Spencer Tracy character and as kind of almost a father figure, a mentor to him. And I don't know, I just love that relationship between the two, and this idea of this kid, a spoiled brat, learning to be, honest and have integrity and all, and keep to your word kind of stuff. I don't know, I really enjoyed that part of the movie, and yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. Captain's Courageous, really good. All right, we taken to 1938. Best Picture winner is You Can't Take It With You, which is a Frank Capra film. This is his second Best Picture winning film of the 30s, and it's also his third time winning the Oscar for Best Director. One of only 3 directors, I think, have ever won 3 or more Oscars. So he's the top 3 most Oscar-winning director of all time. It all came in the 30s, like I said. And I'm a big Frank Capra fan. And yeah, some great work here. This is a big ensemble comedy. And I actually know this film mostly because I was actually in a play version in high school. I played Mr. DePena, one of the kind of side characters that loves fireworks. And I get to dress in at one point, another character is painting me, and I do I'm wearing like a toga, and I'm posing with like a disc, like a Greek, statue. Very fun. Anyway, so I have a lot of nostalgia for this film just because I did the play in high school. Anyways, and Mr. Pendo was kind of a nice, funny side character I got to do. Enjoyed that. Anyways, so yeah, of course I enjoyed the film. It's Frank Capra. I love the play because I was in it. Lots of great characters. Lionel Barrymore plays the grandpa character, which is a great character, very funny. Jimmy Stewart also shows up and does a really good job. It's part romantic comedy with him and the daughter of this family, kind of have this good romantic comedy bit in the movie. But the family is basically family and friends all kind of gather around this house, and it's kind of this, eclectic, group of people, different quirks and stuff like that. But yeah, very enjoyable movie. Again, I'll get to what I think about here with my honorable mentions, my favorite movie, but yeah, another good one there. Biggest box office movie is Boys Town. And I mentioned Spencer Tracy last year with Captain's Courageous winning his first Oscar for Best Actor. He also wins Best Actor for this movie, Boys Town. So 2 in a row, which, definitely solidifies him as one of the great actors of his time period. Here he plays, I think, a priest, or was a father something or other, and it's based kind of on a true story, I guess, or not true story, but a true thing that happened, a true person. I think he's playing a real person who he makes this thing called Boys Town, where he takes in troubled teenagers and and kind of helps them become better people, I guess, through this camp called Boys Town, which is a true thing. There is a camp called Boys Town, I believe in Nebraska is where it's settled, and it's still there, I believe, to this day. Anyway, so it's kind of he's doing a good thing by bringing in these troubled kids and helping them. And the main actor really is Mickey Rooney, and he's a kind of another great child actor during this time period. And he's kind of a troubled kid that he takes in and tries to help. Anyways, and so it's about that story, about Mickey Rooney, trying, fighting against trying to be rehabilitated, I guess, and then eventually does. Anyways, it's a good movie overall. I really enjoyed the movie. So for honorable mentions, I'm going to repeat the last two. With You Can't Take It With You as an honorable mention. Very close to being a favorite movie of mine of this year. Again, Frank Capra, I've got two so far. So this came very close to being a third Frank Capra film and making my favorite movie of the year. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Frank Capra for me. Boys Town, also an honorable mention, I think. A very good film. And I got to put A Christmas Carol in here. I mentioned Reginald Owen. He plays Scrooge here. He's a great Scrooge, and this is a really good, kind of the first Christmas Carol, as far as I know. And there's been so many Christmas carols. In fact, there's a Christmas Carol coming out this year with Johnny Depp playing Scrooge. And there's some good ones with like Jordan C. Scott, Patrick Stewart. We had Jim Carrey recently play. Of course, the Muppets as well. With Michael Caine playing Scrooge anyway. So, but yeah, Christmas Carol, one of my favorite Christmas stories of all time. So a really good one here. But my favorite movie of the year is actually going to a big comedy that came out, and that is Bringing Up Baby. A very popular comedy of the 30s and one of my favorite from the 1930s period. Another kind of romantic comedy. I'd say romantic comedies are probably my favorite style of movies from this time period. Those always work in any decade, I think. Because you don't need a big budget for them, I guess. But this has Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. I mean, two top actors of this time period. And Cary Grant, another great actor. I really love a lot of his movies, and just very funny actor anyways. And Katharine Hepburn does comedy here and there. Not known so much for her comedy, but does a great job. This is definitely I think the greatest example of a screwball comedy, as they call them in the 30s. They do these kind of screwball comedies, very silly at times, but very funny. Katharine Hepburn especially, it's kind of playing more of the silly character, while Cary Grant's playing this very uptight professor type character. And it's one of those things where the two personalities really clash, but the chemistry is so good between the two actors and brings out a lot of the comedy in it. And Baby is like a baby tiger. I mean, not baby tiger, but that's the name of the tiger, is Baby. And so that brings a lot of comedy as well. Him trying to find, he's an archaeologist or something like that. He has a museum, and he's trying to find some dinosaur bones or something like that. There's a mishap, and he has to go to her house, and then the tiger gets involved, and they have to go find the tiger. It's, lots of good stuff here. I got the Criterion Collection here. Very cool. Bring Up Baby. Definitely check it out. So we're going to end the video on 1939. Which is considered by many to be the greatest year of movies. I mean, this had some of the absolute classics and some huge movies coming out this year that people still look at today, including our Best Picture winner, which is Gone with the Wind. And Gone with the Wind was a humongous movie, a very, very popular movie. It was a very popular novel that they turned into a movie. Of course, you got Clark Gable again as Rhett Butler, which in my opinion is, I think, maybe his best performance he's ever given. It's crazy to me that Clark Gable didn't win the Oscar for Best Actor for this movie. He should have. He was so good in it. But Vivien Leigh plays the main character, Scarlett, wins an Oscar for Best Actress for this movie. But you got Thomas Mitchell here. You got Hattie McDaniel, who is the first black person to win a acting Oscar. So a very historical moment there. And Hattie McDaniel is from Wichita, Kansas, my home town. So that's very cool to say that. I believe Olivia de Havilland's in here, Leslie Howard. Yeah, great actors. For me, it's obviously this very big romantic epic set during the Civil War period in the South. It has a great look to it, I will say that. The costumings are great, the set designs are amazing. Cinematography, very good. I do like that scene where they show like the field of bodies and it pans back and you just see how big this field of hurt people are. Obviously very iconic scenes, a lot of very iconic, I think, shots throughout this movie. Acting is really good. There's a lot of good stuff about this movie. My big problem is two things, I guess. One is it's such a long movie. It's 3 hours and 58 minutes long. It's almost 4 hours long. It's the longest movie I've ever watched. I can't believe how long it is. And it definitely drags for me and it doesn't work as well. I do like the ending is very good, and there's definitely moments that are very well done. And I just really don't like that main character, Scarlett O'Hara. I mean, you're not supposed to. She's a real brat character, a real jerk character who manipulates men, and because she's very beautiful, but she likes this one guy who's engaged, and so she uses other guys to try to get to him, kind of. And she's just a horrible character overall. And it's also a very depressing movie. Several people die during the movie. And it's set during the Civil War, so I don't know. To me, it's a kind of a downer movie. I just don't enjoy a lot of the stuff that happens there. But I can't discontinue that. It's a great looking movie, and that's why. I totally understand why it's so popular of its time period. I think it won the most Oscars for that time. I forget, it won like maybe 10 Oscars. I know it broke the record for most Oscars for quite a long time. And talking about it, it's also the big box office movie that year. In fact, it's the biggest box office movie pretty much of all time, if you take in for inflation. It's the biggest of all time as far as records, as ticket sales and all that. I mean, it was humongous. And still today, it's considered one of the greatest movies of all time. But for me, my honorable mentions, I have to, of course, give it to Wizard of Oz. I'm a big fan of Wizard of Oz. Of course, I love Dorothy's from Kansas, all that. I've loved that movie since I was a kid. Crazy, it's not my favorite movie of the year. It's very close to being my favorite movie of the year. Most years it would have been my favorite movie. I absolutely love that movie. Everything from going from black and white to color. I love the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, the Lion, all great characters. Very funny. The music, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, probably the greatest song ever in a movie. There's so many great things about that movie. Really love it. Also have to recommend Ninotchka, which you might not have heard. Really, another really good romantic comedy with I mentioned her before. Well, Melvin Douglas plays the male lead, but the female lead, Greta Garbo. I'm trying to remember who was in The Grand Hotel, which was my favorite movie of 1932. So really good. Both actors are really good together. The director really was good at making these type of movies. If you ever heard of this guy named Ernst Lubitsch, who's I think German director, he made a lot of these romantic comedies during his time period, and very good stuff. This is another really good, to me, kind of hidden gem you might not have heard of, but very just charming romantic comedy where Greta Garbo plays this Russian who comes over to America and is trying to spy on like America or something like that. And this guy, Melvin Douglas, kind of likes her, and he's American who just kind of sees her and just asks her out. And they go out, and eventually, of course, they fall in love, and then she kind of softens on, spying on America kind of thing. In fact, the other two guys that are with her kind of like America. They're like, I kind of like it here, so I like that. Anyways, it's a very good, charming romantic comedy, again, from this time period. So I definitely say I recommend checking that one out if you haven't. And the other one I have to recommend is The Hunchback of Notre Dame, starring Charles Laughton. And I would say my favorite Charles Laughton role. His Quasimodo is amazing. The makeup is actually really good for that time period. He totally disappears into the role. I mean, his voice, his overall physical acting is absolutely incredible. And I do love that story overall. I'm a big fan of the whole, Quasimodo being this outcast who is helped by this beautiful woman, Esmeralda, I think, and has to hide her from the evil clergy guy. And I just love that, him, feeling down on himself because he's different, and then someone shows him kindness. I just love that whole story. And there's just one of my favorite moments in the movie, one of my favorite endings, is at the end she goes off with the handsome guy, of course, and Quasimodo's in love with her, but of course he can't have her because he's still not a very good looking person, kind of, got a weird face, and he sits in the Notre Dame Cathedral and he talks to the gargoyles because he has no one to talk to. So he just talks to the gargoyle statues, and that scene where he turns to one of the gargoyle statues and says, "Why was my heart not made of stone like thee?" And I just love that line so much. It's such a great ending line where he's just like so sad of a character because he's like, I wish I was made of stone, like these gargoyles, so I didn't have to feel sadness. And I feel for that character because you would love to see him fall in love and be happy and all that, but it's just not meant to be. Anyways, I just had to say that because I do love that movie. So all those movies are great. And yet, my favorite movie is Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, starring one of my favorite actors, Jimmy Stewart. This is definitely one of his best movies. It's one of my favorite. It's my second favorite Frank Capra film. Again, Frank Capra coming out again with a great movie. This is the third time I've had his movie. This is my favorite movie of the year. He definitely rules the 30s for me, his type movie. He's so good at coming up, the characters, the main characters are so likable. I just love these main characters that he comes up with in these movies, especially this one. I think, like I said, Jimmy Stewart gives such a good performance, was nominated for Best Actor. Many thought he should have won. It's crazy that he didn't win either. But really, this is a star-making role, I think, for Jimmy Stewart, and he becomes one of the biggest stars of the 40s period, I would say, after this, and into the 50s even. But yeah, I love the character because he's so patriotic, he's so kind and, you know, honest and stuff like that. And he goes to he goes to the Senate where it's just a bunch of corruption, and he's so naive, and then he sees all the corruption, and it just, you know, saddens him, and he can't take it. Even his mentor, the guy that he knew since he was a kid, who was a good person at one time, played by Claude Rains. Claude Rains gives a really good performance here as well. And I just love that he looks up to him and he finds out that, no, he's corrupted too. Even the guy that he knew was a good person growing up is corrupted by politics. And I just goes to show that even the best people get corrupted by being in politics and being in the Senate or whatever. That's just the name of the game. You have to get corrupted by the system in order to get anything done. You have to compromise with other people and compromise your morals and and all that stuff. So I love that. I just love the whole story because this is in 1939. 2026, we're even more corrupt as a country and more corrupt political system. I feel like even then, it feels like it might be the same, but to us it feels like different. But anyways, yeah, great stuff there. Love the ending scene is so good with him giving a filibuster and just talking about how great a country this is. Again, you don't get so many patriotic movies like this anymore. I just love the American patriotism of the movie and all that. Again, Jean Arthur, it comes back here. Again, this is supposed to be Mr. Deeds Goes to Washington with Gary Cooper playing the lead, but Gary Cooper, for whatever reason, couldn't do it, so they changed the title to Mr. Smith, though they bring Jean Arthur back to playing kind of a similar character as Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, but she does a great job, her chemistry with Jimmy Stewart. Anyways, yeah, I can go on. Just absolutely love this movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. Like a top 15 movie, whatever. I love this 75th anniversary I got. It was a really cool. I got some pictures here. Good special features on there as well. But yeah, so that's my 1939. That's the end of my talking about the 1930s in total. So I've gone from 1930 to 1939, and I'll do a video kind of ranking all 10 movies that won the year, basically, to talk about which ones are my favorite of the year, the 1930s anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that again. I love going down, talking about film history, going all the way back to the 1930s, and I appreciate everybody that's commented. I love seeing your guys' comments that I've seen some of these movies, because I'm glad to hear some people have seen some of these movies and even give me recommendations out of this decade. I definitely need to watch more movies from this decade, as you've heard, to get more sense of what was going on. But I don't know too many people that have seen a lot of movies from this time period. So it is definitely one of those time periods that aren't talked about as enough, I think, the 1930s. But yeah, so thank you to everybody that's commented on that and has watched the video, because I really enjoy putting these videos together and put a lot of work into it, and I'm very proud of it anyway. So yeah, again, please comment on what you think about 1935 to 1939. Any recommendations from that period, please tell me in the comments. I would love to read them. Besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a good day.